Right, hello and welcome to the Camberwell Free Film Festival conversation with Tom Layton talking about his short film A Life in the Day of Croissants, and also the photo series that came before it. Welcome, Tom. I think you're still on mute, so you click, there we go.
There we are. Yeah, hello, well, thank you.
Oh, 1 second. Yeah, somewhere. Sorry, just it's bath time, so that's happening at my house. Right, so sorry, that's completely thrown me. Yes, sorry. So if I just introduce you, Tom. Tom mainly works as a commercial and advertising photographer, specialising in kids photography. He also loves photographing and documenting the changes in and around Camberwell.
Yes.
So 36 Reasons to Love Camberwell. We were discussing just before we went live that it has been described by others as a love letter to Camberwell.
Yeah.
And the reason I start with that is because the image of croissants in that series seems to be a sort of a cover image, or it seems to be one of the more prominent or popular images. Was that intended?
No, it's definitely the one that has resonated most with people, but I think that's more because there's so much character, or there was so much character in that shop, and it's the one, yeah. No matter what your age, you walked in and he was like, "Hello, young man," or "Hello, young lady." Even people that were twice his age, if that's possible. It was very much, I think. That kind of symbol of Camberwell that had been there, if it's been there since 1971 or 46 years, whichever version you believe, almost everyone that's ever been, who's grown up in Camberwell, will remember this shop, and I think that's why it kind of resonated so much. When I looked through the series, which I did nearly 8 years ago now, there's even now there's nearly half the places that I photographed, either the people or the shops have moved on. And so this always, Croissants and the Hermit's Cave, maybe arguably as well, always felt like that's that rock that's always been in Camberwell. And for because he'd always threatened to retire, when he actually retired, it felt like it was an end of an era. And I think that's why it's resonated so much.
And I mean, that's what you say in the sort of synopsis or the preamble to the film, is that when you heard or realised that it was finally happening, that he was retiring, you realised that you'd better get in there and sort of do some filming. Was that sort of, I mean, you're primarily, you shoot stills. I just wondered to what extent you suddenly realised I should be capturing more than just photos in there.
I think I've always wanted to capture film. I am not a moving photographer, moving images photographer or cinematographer, but that's something I definitely want to go into. So I saw this more of as a way of trying that, and I thought, it's like all the things. Photograph what you know, and I know that shop, or film what you know, and I know that shop so well, and I know I don't say I know Harry and Maria, Harris and Maria that well, but I know them more than I know any other shops and things around here, maybe. And because they were going, I really wanted to capture that. And so this is pretty much the first film that I've properly put together and edited. I've done other little bits and pieces, but the first thing that I've really shown that publicly. So that's where we were. Just before you came on, I was saying about how I wasn't quite sure about how much I liked the film, and there's lots of things that I would do differently about the film, but that's the same with the photos as well. You develop as a photographer, and you have to change and update and improve what you do and try new things. And so this was me trying new things. And maybe if I shot it now, it would be different, it would look different, but that's what I wanted to do at the time.
Do you think it would be more technically adept, or do you think it would have, I mean, I just, because you were critical, or you were worried about it maybe to begin with, and I just wondered whether I also wondered whether there was much that you edited out. I mean, how much did you shoot?
Oh God, yeah. Well, there's tons that I edited out. I mean, originally, I mean, I love films where nothing happens. I love films that are 2 hours long, which are just studies of people and maybe about the sound. And those are films that I really enjoy watching. And I would, you know, the whole idea was this day in the life of cruise songs. I'd love to do like a much longer version. I do have maybe, you know, I went in about 20 times into the shop. And so this is 3 minutes of a, you know, and even some people are like, oh, it's a bit long for Instagram. And I was like, well, you know, I can't make this any shorter. You can't show a day in the life in 1 minute. Well, you can, but I don't think it would be the same. It wouldn't show the slow pace or the steady pace of the shot. I think one of the things I loved when I was in the shop filming it was just watching the rhythms. And these are rhythms of people who've been doing it for, well, 46 years or 49 years, whatever it is. The people they know what they're doing. Everyone has a job and they all knew what they were doing. And they just did it without hurrying and without rushing around, and everyone had a job. And it was almost, what I loved about it is you realize it was almost like a social club for a lot of these people in there. Yeah, there was more people in that I filmed that didn't want to be in the final film, and I had to respect that. So yeah,
the man from next door was the man from the bakery. I mean, he said he was he said he worked part-time. You'll have to educate me. I didn't know whether because there's Sophocles Bakery next door.
Yes, and it's nothing to do with them. It's just they are part of the wider diaspora of kind of Greek Cypriots, and they know each other. And he would allow him to spread his wares in front, but it's not that they're related, and there's no business connection there. But there's lots of people who maybe are friends of ours or just part of that Greek Cypriot community who would basically spend time there, and I'm assuming they get paid. That wasn't for me to ask them, but they were working there. But I say I assume they get paid up. What I mean is that it felt more like they were there because it was something to do. It was a social activity rather than work, and maybe that they all seem to just enjoy being there. And
yeah, and that seems to have added to his longevity and his hardworking nature. I mean, if you enjoy what you do, well, then you would carry on doing it. I realised that we're not pressed for time yet, but I just thought I'd ask this question now rather than later, and that's whether, to what extent you might, I mean, you wouldn't be able to revisit filming in Cruisons, but would you try and, if you were to pick up the camera again with Aris, would you do something with him? Would you do other things in the area to demonstrate or to document rather the changing nature?
I think it's not that that's chapters closed, but to try and revisit that wouldn't. What would I achieve by revisiting, speaking to Aris again? He's retired now, and I think, it's been a long time coming, his retirement, and I think let him enjoy that. And I'm not sure what else I would get. If he came to me and asked, then that would be one thing, but I wouldn't want to intrude on that, if you see what I mean. And I think Camberwell is changing; it's always changing, and so I think I would film other things, and I do want to do that, and I do want to update the series. And I've been talking about, especially this year with COVID and everything else, what would I include and why would I include it? Because the original book or the original series was the places that I love, and I started it because the 36 Reasons was because I was fed up of talking to people who maybe just moved to Camberwell. I'd only been here for years then. And they were saying, oh, it's rubbish in Camberwell. There's nowhere to shop. There's nowhere to go out, and there's nowhere to do this. And I was like, have you been to this shop? And they were, oh, I've not been in there. Have you been to there? No, I've not been into. And all these people who wanted all these things but hadn't tried what Camberwell had to offer. And what they were actually saying is, I want to live in East Dulwich, and I want a shishi shop, and I want it to look, bunting and beautiful, or whatever it is, whatever the name of the shop is. And we have all these wonderful independent shops in Camberwell. They are all wonderful and they're all independent. They just don't look like, I hate to say it, that gentrified version of what people want of an independent high street. So that's why I started it. And I thought, what are the places I love? And what are the places I love visiting? And that's where 36 Reasons came from. So I would do it again. And maybe if I was doing, and this comes back to what I was saying earlier about filming and photographing, and I wouldn't necessarily revisit or do it the same way, is I've moved on as a photographer. So the style of photography I have now is not the same as the style of photography, both technically and also how I would show something. So what I did in 2012 is not how I would do it now. So whatever I do now will look very different from then.
And if you were doing, because I mean, as you describe, you are showing people what is there, that there's sort of the lovely welcoming faces that are in these shops that aren't necessarily as polished as other places. So would you then be looking to do the same again and find again other places in Camberwell to enjoy, or would you show sort of what those places have turned into? Because I mean, you could go sort of either way, and well, there may be lots of different ways you could go, but you could go to some of the places which have been developed and photograph the new people, or you could go and find where your tastes have taken you.
Yeah, this is partly why I haven't actually redone the series, is because I haven't quite worked out the answer yet. In my head, it feels more logical to photograph the new 36 places that it's like it's not a top 10, it's a top 36. So what are the top 36 places I go to? And I do have a list, I just haven't finalized it yet of the places that I would visit. And I've moved house since I last did it. So if you see the 36 Reasons series and you look at all the captions, it's clear that I just got married, because half the places, like, I had my wedding party here, or I got drunk here the night before I got married, or this is where this is the church where I got married, and all these things. So some places would still be there. A lot of places have closed down. Angels and Gypsies were, I don't know, some people will remember, it was an amazing tapas bar, which is under the Church Street Hotel. That's closed and that's gone now. So I couldn't revisit that because there's nothing there at the moment. It's just the breakfast. So I don't have any connection with it. And that would feel, I suppose I'm answering your question now, that would feel a bit weird because there's no connection to me. It's a personal collection. And actually, when I first did the series, I did get some angry, or fair, I don't know how angry, but some angry comments from people saying, why didn't you include me? I was like, well, I don't even know your name. So why, you're missing the point of why I did this. It's not a marketing campaign for Camberwell. It was a very personal project.
And did people then try to become your friend afterwards, hoping that through that sort of, you might come swing by?
It wasn't quite as bad as that. I think some people were just a bit peeved they hadn't been included, but I didn't know them anyway. So yeah.
And we're getting a warning message to a couple of minutes left. Rose, do you want to say anything, or?
I was just going to ask Access type question. What was their reaction to you wanting to film a day in the life? Did you take some convincing, or?
Yes and no. But again, I know them fairly well. I was in there, 2-3 times a week buying fruit and veg. So I didn't have that problem with trust. And I think Access is all about trust. And I didn't have that problem with trust. I had maybe more issues about, he was a bit concerned about where's the film going to be seen and things like that. And that's things that I kind of explained about and talked about. And I explained, as I said, it was a trial thing. And I said, look, it'll be online, it'll be on this Vimeo site, and that's where it will be, so people can see it. So he knew that, but it wasn't that I was going to be selling it for millions to the Cannes Film Festival. And so he was, I think, he was happy. As I said, there was a couple of people that worked there that didn't want to be included in the film. And they're not in it. I have the footage of them, but they're not in the film.
And so, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but might we expect, I mean, should we be looking out for your next project soon, or do you think it might be a bit of a discovery period first?
I I want to start it soon. I'm kind of, 90% there. And this almost is the kick up the bum I needed to really, because I remember when the library opened, the new library opened, I did a little talk about this, and that was 5 years ago, I realized. And I said, I'm going to revisit it then, and I didn't. I'm the world's worst procrastinator, but actually I feel ready to do it now. It sounds a bit pompous, but I feel ready. I think I know what I'm going to do now.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think the popularity that we see for Croissants, for the series, for the film, I mean, that comes across any time we post about it on Camberwell Arts, and I think everyone else is certainly ready for it. So, well, we look with anticipation.
And if anyone is looking for, I still sell prints, and I still very regularly sell prints that I do, which came. So I'm just going to show the book there. That's the book there. I don't have any left of, so you can't buy that. But I do the prints of Croissant, and I sell them regularly on my website. And it's usually people who are just leaving Camberwell or miss Camberwell are the main people that buy it. But you can get it. If you go to tomlayton.co.uk, you'll be able to find it there. So yeah.
Oh wait, I think we've just is that Shauna telling us that we can? There's a comment there that I think we're being told to pass on.
There you go.
I could smell and feel the temperature of the shot from his film. As he mentioned, I really enjoyed the film. Nothing happened. I wish I could see the longer version someday. Also, I admire the way of showing his love for the neighbourhood. Taking an action is a lot harder than just saying or feeling. Wish I could visit Camberwell again before long. Thank you so much for broadcasting so that I can watch from Japan. And that is a comment from Namba on Gmail. So that's a nice comment to leave you with. Thank you very much, Tom and Rose, and we'll all be waiting to hear what happens next.
Thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me on. That's really kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.